and the fact that they were quite thin-skinned and they picked up their marbles and left the house. He was a big baby, and for about 3 or 4 rounds, he played words in order to not apologize.
This is violent rhetoric, this is extreme rhetoric, and this is rhetoric that must absolutely no longer be in our politics.
Welcome back to Moose on the Loose. So today we're going to do an update of what happened earlier in the House of Commons. Just for a quick refresher, Pierre Poilievre got ejected, so did Rachel Thomas. Both Conservatives from a very much partisan Greg Fergus, even though he pretends that he's a neutral Speaker of the House. He is not. He's a full-fledged Liberal, and he did not treat the situation fairly. Justin Trudeau is able to run his mouth, but Pierre Poilievre calling Trudeau's policies and him a wacko, that gets him right out of the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, the leader opposite is showing us exactly what shameful, spineless leadership makes sense with right now.
Get out of here, Trudeau.
22 British Columbians have died of drug overdoses, but he continues to allow those drugs to kill the people in our hospitals and on our public transit. When will we put an end to this wacko policy by this wacko Prime Minister?
Considering we have the situation with safe supply, we've got people perishing every day. This is not a far stretch at all. Justin Trudeau is a wacko. He's a bonehead, an absolute loser, and a disgrace to this country. After this happened, I've got the immediate clip from Michael Barrett of them walking out, and then there's a bunch of interviews. So let's go over this. What's said afterwards here by the Liberals in these clips is almost more appalling than what happened in the House.
Hey, so this is unbelievable. Just leaving the House of Commons now with every Conservative member of Parliament. The entire caucus of His Majesty's loyal opposition has left the House after 2 MPs, Rachel Thomas and notably Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the opposition, leader of Canada's Conservatives, being thrown out of the House of Commons by the Liberal Speaker for using the term wacko.
So something I'd like to add here real quick. Today I was in Dollarama and there was a smell I had never smelt before, which I'm pretty sure was some sort of hard candy. I quickly got out of there. Like, it is so ridiculous now. When you smell this stuff, it's like immediately like, oh my God. Our country is going to hell in a handbasket, or whatever that saying is. And it's all because of Justin Trudeau and David Eby here locally. So Michael Barrett steps out afterwards and he's interviewed here by the on-site crew that works for the government.
What happened in there? I mean, can you explain why all of the Conservatives walked out at one point?
Yeah, so after 9 years of Justin Trudeau and his NDP Liberal government, we're in a situation where even the NDP government in British Columbia has called for the Liberals to end the wacko decriminalization policy that they've implemented there that sees drugs like heroin, crack, cocaine, and all orders of illegal substances now being used on playgrounds, transit, coffee shop patios, and in hospitals. It's a situation where it's so wacko that nurses who work in hospitals are afraid of breastfeeding their babies when they go home because they're concerned about the crack smoke that they're being exposed to in British Columbia hospitals. So the leader of the official opposition raised the issue of this wacko policy and was ejected by the Liberal Speaker for calling it exactly what it is. And so we're not going to stay in proceedings when there's 2 sets of rules. One set of rules for a Prime Minister who isn't asked to follow the same rules that the official opposition is. Our job is to ask questions and to hold the government accountable. It's not the job, of course, of the Speaker, because he's a Liberal, to protect a Prime Minister whose wacko policies are putting people's lives in danger. And now we know that the Liberals are considering the same policy. It's a wacko policy, but for the city of Toronto here in Ontario.
But Mr. Poilievre was asked to withdraw the comment, and he did not twice. Yeah, why not? Why not? Instead of having this situation where he was removed from the House, why not withdraw that comment?
Yeah, quite simply, Mr. Poilievre did withdraw the comment.
He replaced it. He did not withdraw it. He said he replaced it, and
of course, the problem, Mike, is that the problem is that there's 2 sets of rules. There was a set of rules that was being applied to the leader of the official opposition, and there was a different set of rules being applied to the Prime Minister. And so Mr. Poilievre laid out very clearly that it's a wacko policy, and so it's for the Prime Minister to explain why he's letting that stand.
So what happens to the House of Commons? What happens?
I mean, you've got, even this the day before, you got Stephen Mackinnon saying all that stuff about Alex Jones and how Poilievre, like with the kids and all that, as if he's some sort of supporter of that. Like, that is gross. He should have been ejected for that, but obviously Greg Fergus not going to do that because he's horribly corrupt.
Last week, we saw the leader of the opposition once again encourage supporters of white supremacy, anarchy, and misogyny. This has been a regular occurrence.
Oh, shut it down.
The admiration of people who dismiss the slaughter of children in our schools. The leader of the opposition.
I feel there's been a bit of a change here. You can almost just feel like before there's always the back and forth in the House and it had some sort of semblance of, yeah, our system is working to some level. This doesn't feel like it anymore. This feels like an actual crack in the armor, and you know, it's opened it up and the heart is exposed. There's no longer this fabric of society that is woven together. There's a break in it. And I feel like this is Trudeau and the Liberals keep doing stuff. There will be 1 million Canadians at Parliament ripping the bricks off that building. If they don't think so, they are stupid. Because Canadians have had enough of this garbage, absolute dog crap that they keep putting us through. So next they head inside for some more questions.
Any thoughts, Ms. Harder?
Wacko.
More wacko.
It's an affirmation of democracy. It's a very good word. Absolutely. How else would you define what the Liberals are doing? It 100% is. And the fact that the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada was thrown up there for doing his exact job is shameful. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
That there is, I believe, Michelle Rempel-Gardner. She, pretty vocal.
Ms. Ferrari, any thoughts on the Speaker's decision just now?
Just that he's a wacko.
Next up, we got Stephen Mackinnon here. This guy is just a vile beast, like a real, just gross human.
We witnessed in the House of Commons moments ago is a disgrace. It's a disrespect for our institutions, a disrespect for the Speaker. And let's just recap the last week. You have a leader of the opposition who proactively visits and cultivates the support of white nationalist extremist groups, people who have threatened wars on LGBTQ communities, who have threatened to gang rape female journalists. This is not normal. What is also not normal, and which we should not overlook, is that just yesterday, with a wink and a nod, the leader of the opposition threatened to tear up the Charter of Rights. So it is no surprise that now all jacked up on this very extreme rhetoric, the House of Commons turns into something quite unprecedented, where the opposition are asked repeatedly to withdraw their extremist language, refuse to do so, and when they're not permitted to continue with their extremist language, withdraw from the House.
This guy's such a hypocrite. He is like the king of extremist language.
Things to return to calm after just kicked out the political opposition leader, who's way more popular than you guys in opinion polls right now.
I want to recap that the leader of the opposition has used extreme language, has used sayings and slogans that we have never seen before in Canada. We have never experienced before in Canada this level of extreme right-wing rhetoric. And I would just say to all of you and to all Canadians that it's not normal what we are seeing.
What's not normal is Canadians going through ungodly suffering, you sack of human crap. This guy is unbelievable. Like, really? Really, what's not normal is what Justin Trudeau is doing to this country. Just running our citizens into the ground, bleeding us dry, sucking all of the money out of us, bringing in unimaginable amounts of people that we can't support. There's no doctors, there's no housing. This should be a crime against those people, these new immigrants coming in. What do you have to say about that, Stephen? Nothing. A whole lot of nothing.
And we have to avoid making this seem banal or some sort of normal part of political back and forth. This is not what that is. This is violent rhetoric. This is extreme rhetoric, and this is rhetoric that must absolutely no longer be in our politics.
What's extreme is streets filled with tents, people who can't pay their bills because you guys have destroyed this country.
What do you make of this slight retraction?
Which slight retraction?
When Pierre Poilievre changed his wording.
Well, that's not what he was asked to do by the Speaker, who's elected by all of us to apply the rules and apply them evenly. And we urge the Speaker to continue to apply the rules and to apply them to all members of the House.
Hey, going back into French, those rules were not applied equally. You know that. We're not stupid, dude.
Extreme and violent. What part of it was extreme and violent? He said wacko. Is that what you're saying? He's extreme and violent?
You were there for the same question period as me. He basically accused the Prime Minister of having policies to murder people and to have people die. That is after a week. I think you missed the first part of this, where he's cultivating the violent, extreme white nationalist right, where yesterday, with a wink and a nod, he's threatening to rip up our Constitution and our charter right.
With a wink and a nod, please, dude. And it's true. 22 people have died in the time that David Eby called for this reversal on this safe supply situation, and Trudeau hasn't done it. So yes, people are dying because of this. This is not rocket science, man. It's math.
So this is not normal, and I would ask and urge us all to not normalize this. This is not banal, what's going on. We are in a democracy. We are participating every day here in a democratic exercise. We're voting on budgets. We're passing laws. We're debating them in a completely conventional way. The language being applied to situations in Canada is not normal. These people find advantage somehow, for some reason, in getting people all jacked up. Leader of the Opposition is using terms and terminology that should not be part of our discourse, and we should not normalize it. Thank you very much.
Where you can bring Parliament back to a functioning state. Right now, it is not functioning. What is
well, what's not functioning about it? What is not functioning is that the Conservatives...
But what part of this, what part responsibility do you guys take on the government benches for letting it get to this state, and how do you get it back to a place where Canadians can look at Parliament and say, that works?
I would say to you that any objective analysis of this situation, would take you to the extreme terminology and language and tactics that are being used by the right wing in this country and that have unfortunately been imported into this chamber by Conservatives in this country. This is violent rhetoric. This is damaging rhetoric. This is meant to provoke extreme reactions. And we hope that the Conservatives come back to normal. Thank you very much.
Come back to normal. This guy's a piece of garbage, like absolute human trash right there. Next up, we got Adam Van Couverden. They just keep bringing these guys one after the other.
Look, all I know is that Pierre Poilievre is spending his free time in between sitting weeks courting far-right ideologues and spending time with organizations who Canadian intelligence have referred to as terrorist groups. That is absolutely disgraceful. It needs to be called out plain and simple that no political party should be meeting with these organizations and courting their support.
This guy's such an idiot. The Diagolon, it's a meme. It's a joke. And it worked. You guys are getting owned by it. So we got Marc Miller. Marc Miller's next.
I want to talk about this first, though. I mean, this is something that we haven't seen, I think, in our tenure. Is extremely rare occurrence to see someone get kicked out of the House of Commons, the leader of the opposition. I think Canadians see that this is a guy with very, very thin skin. And he never apologized.
What is Trudeau? Trudeau's the one guy who won't take responsibility for anything, for all the suffering he's caused. Trudeau has the thinnest skin of anyone in Parliament.
Apologizes for anything. I think in a normal person looking at the situation that he got into in the Maritimes would say, I messed up, I shouldn't have met with these people. Look at Canadians if you're looking to lead them and say, I'm sorry. I mean, this is a group of people associated with folks who made deep insults to his family and his wife. If I had done that, I'd be on the couch for 3 months. And so he needs to take a look at himself and look at, I'm not accusing Pierre.
You know who's on the couch for 3 months? It's people who don't have a place to live, you idiot. This guy, Marc Miller, these guys are all disgraceful people. They're just absolute losers. We have the worst of the worst in our highest positions of government.
Poilievre of being a racist. I'm not accusing him of being an extremist, but he plays footsies with them and he dances with them. So I think Canadians need to see that and see him for who he is, because I think it's quite dangerous and it isn't dignified. It isn't something that should be in a person that is supposed to lead, at least in his riding, regardless of.
For him to say Pierre Poilievre is playing footsies with racists when we have a prime minister who has dressed up in racist costumes so many times he can't remember, these guys are the worst liars ever. They know it. They know what's going on.
The party that you're with. And so what the speaker did today was a good thing.
No.
And I hope it doesn't happen again. I hope the guy learns how to be a little remorseful for something that's just a dumb thing, and he keeps doing dumb things. So Canadians will see that.
Oh, dude, you need to shut your mouth.
I think they'll need to call it out.
Do you think what happened today is going to fuel the narrative that he's being silenced by the Liberals?
Who's being silenced?
Pierre.
That guy's never shut his mouth in his life. Who silences him? He keeps saying dumb things. I think it would be good if he shut up. He shut his yap once in a while. But
I think you should shut your mouth, Mark. You need to shut it right now.
The stuff that he does in the House of Commons is disgraceful. But he plays on that. He's a guy that likes to play outside the lines. When someone steps out the lines to confront him, he freezes. So that's the guy people are in bed with.
Marc Miller's got me pissed off here. So much so I'm going to send this guy an email right now. I'm going to send emails to all these fools. And I encourage you guys to all do the same. It'd be a shame if they were to get 30, 40, 50,000 emails in their inbox tomorrow telling them how much we hate their policies, we hate how they're running our country into the ground. I'll link up this page. It's got all the Liberals. I'll link up this one, Stephen Mackinnon. I'll link up Greg Fergus. I'll link up Justin Trudeau and Marc Miller, since he just pissed me off right now. You can go right here, contact. There's his email, mark.miller@parle.gc.ca. So I got an email to Marc Miller here with the subject of, "You are disgraced. You're the worst immigration minister in Canadian history. You are detached from reality and a complete loser. Resign today and stop destroying Canadian lives." We'll send that off. I encourage all of you to do the same. It'll be linked up down below.
I'm going to let it by. We need to have a place for healthy debate, but as you've seen in the House of Commons, it's far more often than not recently been rather unhealthy. And the fact that they were quite thin-skinned and they picked up their marbles and left the House is a sign of who they are as a party. You know, you're in the House as, yes, leader of the opposition, prime minister, but we're all equal. We are representing our ridings. The rest of the party didn't need to leave today. But, you know, their bread is buttered by Pierre Poilievre, and none of them had the courage to stay and ask questions of the government, which is, you know, very much a privileged time for people in Canada. It's something that we're quite proud of as a country. In the US, Congress can't bring in people, the executive, Mr. Biden's executive and cabinet, to question them on a daily basis. In Canada, I think it's pretty special based on this Westphalian, based on the parliamentary tradition that we have, that you can drag in the executive and ask them questions every day. They held their breath, picked up their marbles, and walked out of the House. That's a sign of character.
You're calling them thin.
Yeah, what's the sign of character, what you've done to our country, man?
Skinned, but won't some Canadians look at this and see that, well, he was ejected for using the word wacko? That's not an astoundingly offensive word.
It's been, look, there are plenty of unparliamentary words that are used. They may seem arcane and archaic. I have been guilty of using them myself. When I've done it, I've gotten up and apologized. So he wasn't sanctioned for using the word. He was sanctioned for not retracting it. And when he did, he was a big baby, and for about 3 or 4 rounds, he played words in order to not apologize. And I think that is telling of a character of a person. So he used the words, wrong on him. He then was sanctioned, refused to apologize. That attacks the integrity and the authority of the chair, which is sacrosanct in this House. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, okay, I got another email for this piece of garbage. All right, my second email here to Marc Miller. Why do you like causing suffering? Why would you bring in over 1 million people annually into Canada when we don't have houses for these immigrants, we don't have doctors, and is breaking our entire country? It's almost like you want to cause suffering to us. Send that off. I'm going to go through and send some more to these fools. Next up, this email to Stephen Mackinnon, titled, "Loser. You're a disgrace to humanity. Everything you do in Parliament stinks worse than pig diarrhea." We'll send that off. Next off, I got one going to Greg Fergus here, titled, "We see you. You're unbelievably biased and corrupt, and Canadians all see it." We'll send that off. Finally, we got one for the big man himself, Justin Trudeau, with the heading, "You're the worst prime minister in Canadian history. You're a failure and a loser, and Canadians will fill the streets and rejoice the day you are voted out. Every day afterwards, you will be heckled until you're old and gray. We will never forget what you did to us." We will send that off. All right, next up here, let's jump over to my group and let's calm things down. I found this. What word best describes Justin Trudeau, traitor, communist, criminal, or wacko? This wacko thing is not going away anytime soon. They call me a wacko. The memes are just, they're blowing up. Show me your drawing skill. Oh. Me and my paycheck trying to figure out when the government worked half of my shift. Yeah, no kidding. So I got my dictionary out and looked up the word wacko. There was this photo. Wacko. Canadians have the right to protest, to disagree with their government and make their voices heard. We'll always protect that right, just as long as you aren't white, Canadian, or conservative. Yeah, that's basically it. Canada's idiot. What is that, from like Mad Magazine? I haven't seen that in years. Days Without Embarrassing Canada. Yeah, it's every single day. We need a couple good laughs there. We got a lot of wacko stuff. Stay tuned though. We'll have a lot more wacko memes coming up for sure. Thanks for watching the end of the video here. It was a spicy episode. Be sure to subscribe and hit the thumbs up. I greatly appreciate all of you watching here. We're going to stick together. We got to keep fighting this. We will get rid of Justin Trudeau and these absolute loser liberals. And that party will get absolutely obliterated and removed off the map. I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes less popular than the PPC, because never again liberals, never again Justin Trudeau. We'll keep fighting for freedom, and I'll see you guys in the next one.